Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another week and with another fantastic evening of racing action in the iRacing Porsche Cup by Conspit, as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back on another Wednesday with our regular top split broadcast, and it is time for week number 5 of the 2025 Season 3 campaign, and we complete a Japanese doubleheader. Last time out, in week number 4, we were at the Tsukuba circuit, known perhaps more for its time attack variant and the fact that it is a circuit that is short, sweet and difficult to overtake at. But here today we've made our way to the Okayama International Circuit, a rather remote circuit by today's modern standards, once a stalwart of the 90s and a privateer circuit that very quickly rose to international prominence and played host to Formula 1 Grand Prix along with many other international series. Nowadays its major international series that it plays host to is none other than GT World Challenge Asia and also the Super GT series, but otherwise it's been relegated more so to national and domestic series, the Japanese mainland. But one thing's for certain around here, this circuit is going to be the ultimate challenge for our drivers as they look to do battle today. With a variety of corners and rapid fire direction changes, there's something for everybody here at the Okayama International Circuit, and who will we see come away victorious in our top split broadcast? Well, we welcome you live to this circuit side broadcast available on YouTube at TX141TX or Paul Walsh on YouTube, and we say hello to you guys and girls tuning in. In the commentary booth you have myself, my name is Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain and Spit, depending on what media you follow me on, and we bring you all your racing action as it unfolds. And speaking of our action for tonight, in this 1945 Greenwich Mean Time session, or alternatively the Universal Coordinate Time session, UTC, we'll be seeing our drivers make their way onto the grid in approximately 4 minutes time for our 17-lap race. It's going to be a thriller, no doubt about it, and qualifying is just going to be one key aspect in the story, and qualifying is currently underway. But before we make our way to the circuit, well, let's tell you a little bit about the season so far and what we've still got lying await in this absolutely brilliant series. So as we make our way then into week number 5, we've made our way around the globe with a double header in Belgium, then being followed up by a trip to Brazil for the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, and we have now made our way to Japan. After today, with week number 5 seeing the conclusion of our Japanese double header, we won't be returning to the Pacific for some time, but instead what we will be doing is heading to the Oceania region, and that'll be for the Mount Panorama circuit. And on week number 6, we'll be seeing who is going to be king of the mountain, but we should point out with regards to next week's broadcast, it will be a slightly different time slot. It'll be the 1945 GMT or UTC slot, however on Saturday the 26th of July due to scheduling limitations, but we will promise you a top split broadcast as of that week. But indeed we're heading towards the halfway point and the racing is continuing to rise up to its ultimate peak of racing action. Indeed we had a brilliant season open of incredible strength for field, and we've got an incredible one today as we moved away back from the 3000s and into the 4000s, but more on that in short order. Let's introduce our circuit then, and of course it is the full layout of the Okayama International Circuit, and we'll span in an absolutely wonderful length of curves, 2.31 miles in length, and the best part of 11 corners. It is a circuit that definitely has withstood the test of time, having previously entered life known as the TI circuit in reference to Takayama International, whereas a circuit that over time has been renamed, it's been rebadged, but the one thing that's always stayed with it is its rapid fire direction changes. Over the course of 11 corners, you'll notice that typically a right-hander is followed by a left-hander, such as first corner into Williams at turns 1 and 2. You also do have the Moss S's at turn number 3, Atwood Curve, the off-camber uphill right-hander at turn number 4, and then the latter half of a lap, which begins with a hairpin and ends at Might Night Corner. It's all about those quick fire rights into lefts and lefts into right, and indeed it's going to be for our drivers to try and find a way to settle their cars down and get it absolutely right. And thank you to iRacing.com, not just for their brilliant simulator, but also the fantastic track maps that come with it. A quick reminder of the rules before we go racing. This is an open setup series, and that means our drivers are able to take whichever setup they so desire to the circuit so long as it meets requirements. The grid shall be set via a closed qualifying session, which is just about to conclude, and we'll see the race commence via a standing start, as is the tradition of the iRacing Porsche Cup by Conspit, and drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 17 or more instant points. Should they get to 25, it will be disqualification. But let's head back to circuit side, ladies and gentlemen, and the last of our drivers then getting in their final qualifying laps if they haven't already. There's Corey Lazarus making his way back to the pit lane. He's got his laps in, it would seem. And as Sergio Paulet rolls his way on through the corners, well, we do have plenty of new faces here today. And we have returned to a much higher strength for field. Now, of course, for the last couple of weeks, week 2, we had a strength for field just shy of 4,000. It was 3,963. Week number 3, when we headed to Brazil after Circuit Zolder, we had a strength for field of 3,869. Last time out at the Tsukuba circuit, we did have a strength for field of 3,143. And here today, for our top split, we are at 4,700. 516. So not quite the Gideon heights of the 5,644 we saw at Spa-Francorchamps, but we've come pretty close, and that's absolutely brilliant to see. Very strong drives all coming out here today. That's not to belittle those who competed last time out, of course, but indeed we do have plenty of big names and faces here, all looking to go toe-to-toe, and plenty of new names on the grid who haven't been in the top split broadcast previously, including Christian Manzano, also Dan Bishop here in the number 24 Hertz machine as he roars his way around there, and indeed that being the Jota livery machine, with Jota having recently experienced some great success in the World Endurance Championship, if my memory serves me correctly, in the Cadillac V-Series machine, but of course exchanging from Cadillac to Porsche today, and will we see the Jota machine come out on top? We will have to wait and find out. But as he roars his way past us, we do say hello to a couple of you in the YouTube chat there, including Oscar Bunsen, who's cheering on Ice Cold Racing, and also to Adam Klanvik, who's cheering on ICR. But as qualifying gets to a close, ladies and gentlemen, let's head to the grid and find out how they're going to line up for today's race. So all the drivers head to the grid and they will line up as follows. And on pole position, Heidi Nomamasi, the man who put on some brilliant racing at Spa-Francorchamps in our season opener. He's taken pole position there by 600ths over Adam Kotarski, the man who was unlucky not to take victory last time out at Tsukuba after a brilliant battle where he had to definitely get his boxing gloves out for the battle, but still he'll be looking to come on strong today. Next, Pedro M. Ribeiro started third, the Portuguese driver just ahead of Ice Cold Racing powered, none other than Tobias Olsen, the Swede who starts fourth. Then we'll have Felix Ritter started fifth there for pole promotion esports, ahead of Vicente Aparicio from Spain, started sixth. Then we'll have the Australian driver Corey Lazarus started seventh, ahead of Bernardo Ferrier, and then we'll have Philip Hammer for pole promotion esports, ahead and none other there than Marcello Kenoff. They complete your top 10. Outside the top 10, best the rest in length, it is going to be Marcin Gazinski ahead of Max Enstrom. Keep your eyes out for Max. He had a difficult time last time out at Tsukuba. He'll be hoping for a happier day today. And from the Ice Cold Racing Power driver, it will then be starting in 13th place, Christian Manzano. In 14th, we'll have Christian Carlsen from Norway ahead of the Spaniard of none other than Sergio Paulet, with then 16th going the way to Matthias Moser. In 17th place, on the 9th row of the grid, it will be Carl McGuinness, and from the Briton to a fellow Briton, it will be Sim and Racing's Nathan Foster. Completing your top 20, we'll have Ivan Pujikev ahead of none other than Dan Bishop, and then rounding off your starting order of 25 drivers, it is going to be Pip Venazzi ahead of Martinez Stenzon, and then we have on the final full row of the grid, 23rd, it'll be Bell Wells, and he'll be in the company there of Tito Debravander, and then we'll last but not least, started 25th on the grid, it is going to be Enzo Adaveda, and well, the American driver there's got it all to do from the back of the field. Indeed, several drivers not having the qualifying performances they desired, and well, we do have 4 drivers without lap times there, but will we see them come on through the order rapid fire, or will they struggle? Well, the lights are going on, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to find out over the best part of 17 laps of racing. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go here for week number 5's top split race. And as they roar the way down towards turn number 1, it's a good start from Mamasi there, holding off Kotarski as they enter the opening corner. Somebody going slightly sliding wide there. It's gone very wrong for Philip Hammer before he's even got away. So much so he's escaped our cameraman's view. But as they all come charging in towards turn number 2, we can see that Felix Ritter going defensive versus Vicente Aparicio as they come through up that left-hander, and onwards they charge then in towards turn number 3. Now we'll see 2 wide plenty here, but somebody's going to settle down eventually. Somebody being skewed out wide, they're going through the S's, but it's going to be a mistake, and that's going to be Rivera going out very wide there. Pratti going sideways, carrying through the S's and in towards turn number 4, and will Rivera's dropped down the order, as has Hammer. They're both going to fall to the back, but we've got to stay transfixed here to the fighting further up the order. The top 4 are settling down, but the fight for 5th is 3 wide onto the cross, and that's going to be, well, trying to see how that was Bernardo Ferrier being sent straight onto the barrier there. Goodness me, Ferrier having a nightmare moment, and well, the highly popular man in the Porsche Cup community ends up going with a slam into the barrier. Not the way he's wanted it to go at all. But as we get a replay of some of those open lap instants very soon, as indeed the laps are going to start to trickle away very quickly, but as things calm down for a brief moment at least, Will Mamasi has avoided all the drama at the start with that brilliant start, and Adam Kotarski as well holding on to second place here as they roll the way out of turn at number 9 in towards 10, and well, now we start to see those battles develop a little bit more, but the open lap has definitely proven to be a very spicy one out there, and well, a little bit further back, Marcin Kaczynski not gaining any places minus the drivers who went wide at the start, but Kaczynski right now just gradually picking up the pace here as he rolls his way onto another lap. So after one lap per racing, it's Heidi Noamamasi who leads the way by the best part of a second over Adam Kotarski. Then it will be Tobias Olsen in third, ahead of Felix Rutter in fourth. Then we have Corey Lazarus in fifth, ahead of Vicente Aparicio in sixth, followed by Marcello Kenoff in seventh. Then Christian Carlson, Max Enstrom and Marcin Kaczynski complete your top 10, with Christian Manzano rounding off the best of rest into 11th place. But no battles right now, although we do have Philip Hammer very quickly building his way through the order. The man who ended up sideways coming out of the S's on the opening lap, well, I had to try and find out what happened, when in fact that wasn't him. He was going off the circuit at turn number 1. He didn't even get to the opening apex. Meanwhile, it was difficulty for one of his other drivers by comparison, but it's got a roll for some and not for others. The roars as well along. Bernardo Faria has had to be towed to the pits after that shunt into the barrier at the exit of turn number 5, up at the hairpin here. But from them, well, Pedro Ribera there battling side by side with Nathan Foster. Foster on the outside now, coming in towards the left-hander at turn number 6 as the gravel's distributed there. Some drivers running a bit wide, and we can see Nathan Foster having to back off there as he fights for 17th place. These drivers right now all started to take small shades out of each other. The same can be said for Christian Manzano there, as he looks to defend the outside to inside, coming from the left into right at turns 8 to 9. It's a strategy you can go for here because of the fact you've got these quick switchbacks. Therefore, being on the outside of the first corner in the sequence isn't always a bad thing, and Manzano demonstrates that as Stenshorn meanwhile goes lunging up the inside of Paulet and makes a lovely move there to move into 12th place. The Lightning McQueen machine absolutely squeezes his way through and will catch his rival Paulet by surprise as they head on through. Is he going to go for the move here in towards turn number 1 for 11th place? Yes, he is. And Martinius Sternthal making a brilliant move. So that's a big lunge on the brake in there. And that was Carl McGuinness with a lock-up, I believe, unless I'm mistaken. In fact, that was Pedro... No, it was not Pedro Ribera. That was Matthias Moser who ended up locking under brake. And I do apologise. And that did send his rival off the road. Sergio Paulo there being knocked sideways as a result of a lock-up for Moser. And what a big mistake there. But they'll try and calm it down for a moment. And as they come out of turn number 4 and over the crest they go. Well, right now, I think there's going to be a few words between drivers at the end of the race, no doubt about it. But we will see what happens between them after the race. Indeed, that'll go to the stewards if required. But right now, everything that's happening on track is going to be the big focus. But as we see a driver go wide, and in fact that is a runway for Max Enstrom there, the man who right now would be hoping to have a bit of better luck here today. Well, he's had a good start, but he won't be having a good run of the race if he makes mistakes like that. And Max has got to get his head back down now, as meanwhile that is going to be Cole McGuinness going around the outside of Matthias Moser. And in fact, I think we were correct when it was McGuinness originally in that contact on the lunge, and Moser, I think we've incorrectly attributed to the contact with Sergio Paulet. But still, we'll correct that later on today, as right now McGuinness still trying to stay ahead there, getting back into 13th place for the time being, but Moser is right with him as they bring this lap to a close, and we're rolling around then in towards the final corner, or last turn as it's known. Well, from them a little bit further back, this is Philip Hammer, the man who had a nightmare start to the race. He's on the recovery drive and looking to go around the outside there on the final corner. Not a typical place to overtake. He's going to try his Hammer, but I don't think he's going to be able to get it done here as they roar their way down towards turn number 1. And he's got a lovely opportunity here, side by side in towards the opening corner. Of course, he can go deep on the outside to get the inside at 2, but the number 14 there of Paulet runs a little bit deep to the small tap to Hammer, and that forces Hammer to back off for the run back, but he's going to try and go for it anyway here as they come out of the corner. So Paulet gives them the space to coexist, and in towards the S's they go. Behind them, that's Enzo Edavera, who's just watching by comparison. He doesn't want to make it 3 wide. Hammer's still on the outside here. He's like a bad rash. You can't get rid of him no matter how much ointment you rub on it. And right now, Philip Hammer really just gluing himself to the outside of the road and batting with Paulet all the way down the back stretch. And as they roar the way underneath the Lexus board, we're heading in towards the hairpin. This has surely got to be move said and done now for Hammer. He was ahead. There's a big lock up there, and that is going to be Edaveza going straight on into the gravel. Will miss his braking point now, and I think going too hard on the brakes. Thankfully, just straight lining onwards, but that could have been tantamount to tears. And I think Sergio Paulet will look behind him afterwards and think, okay, we've got away with that one just about. But as he brings it back down, indeed everything calms down for a brief moment. We get an opportunity to reflect on the race start. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take a look at some of the open lap instance, including what happened to Philip Hammer, who started much further up the order compared to where he was as we took a look at him only moments ago. And as the race got underway, what you're going to see here is Philip Hammer built up some speed, brings himself to the outside, and then gets tapped there. A small tap, puts him on the gravel and sends the car loose. And Philip Hammer there, before he could even make the first braking zone, already turned the wrong way. He'll be absolutely fuming about that. We then subsequently had this happen to Pedro Ribeiro through the S's on the open lap, so making his way on through. onto the brakes in towards turn number 4, and a small tap on the inside there. Was there a tap or was there not? Not quite sure, that camera angle not being flattering, but he was definitely sideways. But then at the end of the back straight, we saw this happen to Bernardo Faria, and well, one of the most decorated drivers in Porsche Cup history on the iRacing platform, making his way down towards the braking zone here, free wide, and came across while the drivers in the free wide situation. Corey Lazarus was on the inside. Can't quite recall who was in the middle there. I think it was Vicente Aparicio, and Faria headed to the tyre barriers very quickly indeed. Well, after that, we also had this happen to Nathan Foster on lap number 2, and he was making his way out of turn number 7 there, ran a little bit wide, and was he made his way on the brake into turn number 8. What exactly went wrong? It went very deep, and the number 18 followed him there, and that was the number 18 of none other than... We'll try and discern who that was there. I believe that was Ivan Pugachev, who followed him deep and ended up making contact with Nathan Foster. And then we had this on lap number 3 for Sergio Paulet. And, well, this was coming down towards turn number 1. Battling side by side he went. And in the end, well, a small tap there sent him out onto the gravel and had to bring it back as quickly as it all went wrong. So those were your open lap instants from the opening 3 laps. Let's come back to your live racing, ladies and gentlemen. We've still got plenty more of it to come here. And, well, there's surely going to be a bit more drama before all is said and done. But all of our drivers carrying on, and well, I do see the question there from Oscar Brunson in the YouTube chat, which is saying, could we see the iRating on the standings? Would be interested to see what iRated some of the drivers are on their accounts. Well, we might be able to flash that up. We do currently have the door numbers, so bear with us. We might be able to bring that up just to give you a sense of the caliber of the iRatings of the drivers. But we're going to focus on the racing as well. And in fact, we will be able to briefly flash up those iRatings. And there you go for those who are curious. And well, we will keep those up for a little bit before returning to the door numbers there, just to make it easier to understand who is racing whom out there. But I hope that helps for you, Oscar. And of course, we're always happy to try and help out and provide some more information on the broadcast where we can. Speaking of information, well, let's come back to cold hard facts, and that is Philip Hammer moving up into 16th place up the inside there of Ivan Pugachev as they roar the way out of the hairpin. Straightforward move there, and Philip Hammer right now, who qualified all the way up in 9th place, well, right now completely out of position, and he will be picking off these drivers quite rapidly. Indeed, one of the highest rated drivers in this lobby. The only driver higher than him is none other than Heidi Nomamasi, although Felix Lotter also quite up there, in fact a little bit higher than Philip Hammer, but they are all close then. That goes to show you how high their iRatings are. But from the battle of drivers further down the order, this is the battle for 10th place, and we're looking back to the rear of Cole McGuinness right now. He's caused them all to fight each other behind, and that is going to be Christian Carlson, Matthias Moser and Pedro Ribeiro, 3 wide into 1. It doesn't normally work out here, albeit they were staggered 3 wide at the apex, but runs deep does Pedro Ribeiro, and as a result, that's going to cost him all the momentum he gained, and very quickly they lose that. He's going to lose that another place there, as that's Max Enstrong up his inside, and well, Ribeiro, after looking to go for the move, well, absolutely brilliant attempt, didn't quite work out, but Matthias Moser, meanwhile, he is still fighting with Christian Carlson, and well, up the hill they go, but I think Moser at this point just simply holding his ground and, well, holding off Carlson, but Carl McGuinness has been given a golden opportunity to break away from these drivers as they roar onwards down towards turn number 5, and well, right now it'll be McGuinness who's chasing down Manzano if he can. However, it's easier said than done normally, and well, will he be given the opportunity? As that's very late under braking there from Pedro Ribeiro, loses the rear end and it taps Max Enstrom. And poor Max again. We said he had a brilliant qualifying session, had a good start to the race. It's almost as if we put the commentator's curse on the Swede, because he made a mistake earlier on his own volition, and there, on the outside, trying to defend versus Pedro Ribeiro. Ribeiro came in too hot, the rear of the car slid loose, and the rear of the car just briefly tapped the side of the number 16 of Enstrom and sent him sideways as well. So right now, the man can have no luck, and I do owe him a personal apology, I think, after this one, because whatever I say about it, but I try and make a positive out of Max Enstrom's day, it always seems to go the other way, and I'm very sorry, Max, if you watch this back later. But as he comes down through turn number 11, well, we look for our drives outside the top 10. So the man leading the race for a brief moment, and Heidi Nomamasi right now flying onwards. He's absolutely charging off into the distance by 3.5 seconds. And, well, as he makes his way through Adam Kotarski right now, well, he does seem to be really the best rest in second, albeit Tobias Olsen would have something to say about that as they rise the way onto the back straight once again. He's not too far away as Tobias Elias Olsen. And, well, from them, it's 1.5 seconds back to Corey Lazarus, who is a highly decorated Porsche Cup driver, one of the fastest out there on the Oceania continent. And indeed, right now, the man from Australia, I believe he lives in New Zealand, if my memory serves me correctly. If that, I've got them the wrong way round. I'm sure Corey will correct me, given the fact I've had the pleasure of covering him in multiple series, Porsche Cup related, over the best part of the last 3 years. And we're a very fast driver at that, has been on the grid with the likes of Philip Hammer for an extensive period of time. And we're right now, Corey Lazarus absolutely doing everything to not quite keep Philip Hammer behind, although he would be forgiven for mistake in the car behind him for Hammer, given it's in the same livery, but it's Felix Wutter instead. And Wutter right now really hustling with the steering wheel there as he looks to do battle, coming down through Might Night Corner and into last bend. But I don't think there's going to be an opportunity right now for him to do so, because of the simple reason, through those two corners, unless you're already alongside on entry, you're never normally close enough. But Wutter, to be fair, started where he is, and, well, in 5th place right now. He'll be feeling as though that this race could still come to him, as a bit more time is still to play out there, as we bring the door numbers back onto the timing tower for you. And, well, our number 2 driver, well, in 5th place at the moment, he'll be wanting to move a little bit further forward so as not to lose too much iRating. Remember, the door number is representative of your iRating compared to all your rivals. So the number 1 driver, Heidi Nomamasi, he is the highest iRated driver in the lobby, and the driver with the door number 25, that's Nathan Foster, all the way down in 22nd, lowest rated by comparison, and that gives you an idea of where they should expect to finish the race, all things being equal, and that all drivers are equally good compared to their season average at every single circuit. Of course, that's not always the way, although the best drivers will be the best performers at every single circuit on the calendar. But from a bit of statistical analysis, back to what we're seeing on screen, so Wutter close, but Lazarus just keeping at bay for now. It's a bit of a run wide in front there from Olsen, who's pushing hard to chase down Kotarski. And, well, these drivers, this top 5, are absolutely pushing each other to the limit right now. But on the limit is where mistakes will happen and the best laps will be seen. From them, looking a little bit further back, and this is to none other than Martinez Sterzon, and he has got Christian Manzano a little bit closer to him now as they roll the way into the switchback hairpin sequence of turns 8 and 9. Now, you'd be understandable here if Sterzon is starting to worry a little bit. The Manzano is close, not threateningly close at the moment, but definitely in a position to start putting some pressure on us. We are seeing more dust being kicked up there on the exit of turns 10 and 11. A lot of drivers, I think, just running a little bit wide. That will count as an off track, and that will mean that their instant count, their available instant points, will go down. And why is that a concern? Well, of course, the fact if you do make contact with another driver and it's not a brief tap, which would lead to what is known as a 0x contact or a rub, then you do get 4x for that contact, and, well, too many of those, and you very quickly find yourself a drive-through penalty. But Sergio Paulet on the inside there and moving back into 17th place. Comfortable move there, lovely done, and Ivan Pugachev not fighting it too hard. I think respecting the fact that these two right now want to go hunting after drives a bit further up the road. Albeit Paulette still keeping a nice bit of pace as he uses all the road and plenty more, heading in towards turn number 4, and Pugachev will follow him up the hill now, and there's 4 seconds between them and Max Enstrom. He's falling down to 16th place because Hammer's recently found his way past, but still these drivers have got a bit of distance to go, and I'm sure with the momentum they're carrying, will Pugachev look for a counter-attack here down towards the hairpin? The answer is no, he won't. But further back there, you can see the Jota machine of Dan Bishop in 20th place, looking for a chance here to put a move on Pit Venanzi, and we can't quite do so. Nathan Foster on the inside, however, that is versus Advera, and they're fighting for the last of the running positions really here in 21st, 22nd, but it's still too wide between them as they come down through turn number 6, but Foster around the outside there just seals the door shut versus Idabeza, and, well, as he rolls his way up the hill now in towards the 2 hairpins, will he see his rival come back at him? The answer is he attempts to, he fakes a lunge, and that's going to cause Foster to go a little bit deep, but Foster now goes defensive, switchback move there, but it's not quite enough. These two really putting each other under brilliant mental pressure, but Nathan Foster holds on. But whilst all this is happening, well, it's too wide, they're coming through turn number 2, and this is Corey Lazarus keeping Felix Wutter behind. Wutter did make a move on him in towards turn number 1, but couldn't quite get it said and done, so they really now starting to take the gloves off here as we head into the final third of this race. And coming around through turn number 4, will Felix Wutter this time, will he have the move? We jump aboard the dashboard here of the number 2 car as it powers its way down the back straight. And you can see Lazarus immediately going defensive here. No sign of wanting to just hold his position on the natural racing line. Wutter going around the outside. Can he get it done there as the car scooped into the camber of the road? Not quite enough for him to do so. Lazarus in the end just running his rival out enough not to force him off circuit, but to cause him to be on a compromise line. And Lazarus knowing exactly where there to stop running his driver out, and you can see as a result that they're running wide out of turn number 7. It's got to him mentally a little bit there. He's a little bit frayed as a result of that. He's just got to settle himself back down now because he's got a lot of momentum, has Felix, but he has bumped into the immovable object of Corey Lazarus, and Lazarus knows exactly how to play the defensive game here. He may not be the fastest driver out there, but he's a very capable defensive driver, and that is why he's holding on to that 4th place and happily doing so, enjoying that rivalry between the two of them. And well, speaking of rivalries, in the battle for second, Adam Kotarski, he right now still have Tobias Olsen close behind him here, and in fact we thought Kotarski was pulling away. The laps over the last 4 laps have gone the way of Olsen. This could still be a fight for the run-up spot, which is going to go to the wire between these two, and if they fight hard, Lazarus and Werther could close up, and we could have a 4-way fight for second place, which if so, that'd be absolutely thrilling, no doubt about it. We're going to have to keep an eye on that, but as they come out of turn at number 4, will we see a bit of closing distance this time from Olsen? The gap was 3.5 tenths at the apex, but a poor exit from Olsen is going to cause the gap to open up to 4 tenths. It will start to come back down in the toe, but I think Kotarski's done enough here as they head towards the next braking zone. It's a long run, but not long enough there for Olsen to have the confidence to try it and go for a lunge. But looking back to Vicente Aparicio, currently in 8th place. He wants to move into 7th. In front of him is Marcin Gazinski, and Gazinski's had a really good run in this race, to be fair. Started 11th, moved up to 7th, and well, right now just doing everything right, as meanwhile Aparicio has lost 2 places since the start, so a bit of a swap back and forth between these drivers. And if you're wondering about the gains and losses between the drivers, we'll show that on the time tell there. That gives you an idea of the biggest gainers and the biggest losers. And well, Gazinski just practically parking the car on the apex of turn at number 8, rolling it to a crawl, and well, he's allowed to do that given it is a single file formation through there if you're not side by side on the braking. And well, Gazinski not driving dangerously, but just simply robbing Aparicio of all the momentum as they rotate the cars around the apex of those hairpins. And it is a very valid tactic. Of course, if you do it wrong, then what you can do is actually overturn the rear of the car. You can cause a lot of effective oversteer on the rear of the car, and you can actually send yourself around, and your rival, of course, if they are too close, then you can risk your rival bumping into the back of you, which Aparicio, knowing that all the rules and what's played out there, is close but not too close to be caught out by that. But really go for the cut back there through turn number 2. He's got a lot of speed as they roll the way through the S's, and all right now for Aparicio. Can he find a move here? Does he go for it into turn 4, or does he wait for the long run onto 5? Well, if he's going to wait for it, which I think he is going to, he's going to need a really good run out this corner. It's one thing that a lot of drivers seem to be struggling with in the dirty air is following another car out of turn number 4 on the back stretch down towards the hairpin at 5, and well, that could be a sign of the fact the dirty air just upsetting the cars a little bit. But Apparicio's going to go for it. It's a long lunge on the brakes, squeezes in, contact between the two of them, and it sends Kaczynski around. And well, both drivers will have their own story there to tell of what they thought of what happened, but the damage is done. Vicente Aparicio moves up into 7th place, and Marcin Kaczynski in all of that falls down to 8th, albeit he will be 2 seconds behind Aparicio. It'll be 3 seconds ahead of Martinez Stanton, and as a result of that all, well, now he will hold on to 8th place for the time being. But can we get a replay of that? Well, I think we might be able to, and here is the quick replay of that battle between the two of them from an exterior camera. So as they made the way down here, well, you're going to see Aparicio pulls out, and on the long trail braking, Kaczynski squeezes towards the apex. Now, the big argument will be how much was Aparicio alongside by the time Kaczynski turned into the apex gradually. And you can see he was going to try and shut the door, but I think both drivers there wanting to be on the same line, and well, Aparicio getting away with it there compared to his rival. But I'm sure they'll discuss that one after the race, and I'm sure plenty of you in the YouTube chat may have your thoughts on that one as well. And feel free to give your thoughts. Keep it civil as always, however, folks. But right now, as we return to live racing, 4 laps to go, and well, civilities are starting to fall apart here further outside the top 10, albeit they're keeping it clean to be fair, but they're taking the gloves off, and it's Carl McGuinness still holding on to 11th at this time. He does have Pedro Ribeiro and Matthias Molzer right behind him, and then off of them, Philip Hammer, who's moved up into 14th ahead of Christian Carlson. Well, he's on the recovery driver's hammer after that dismal start to his race, but he's got a long way to go if he wants to recover any further and get into the top 10, and whether he's going to be able to do it or not in the remaining 4 laps, that is to be seen. Hammer is very fast out there, but the problem is he's got to pick his way through a load of drivers, and he hasn't got that many laps. But we will see what he's able to do. A bit further back from this is Max Enstrom in the number 16 car, currently running in 16th place. So quite poetically there with his door number. He does seem to make a habit of this, which is no matter how bad the race ends, he always finishes with regards to his door number where he expected to be finished. But Carl McGuinness, meanwhile, well, he's not finished here in terms of his battling, because that's Pedro Ribeiro going around outside to inside. Squeeze there from McGuinness. And Ribeiro, I think, would argue he had the right to the line. A big slide from McGuinness. And let's go open up the door to Matthias Moser. Moser on the inside in towards turn 10, and well, McGuinness here, once he's lost one, he's going to lose two, and I don't think he's getting that back anytime soon. And for Carl McGuinness, I think there's going to be a lot of frustration there in the fact, I think he wanted to slam the door shut, but Pedro Ribeiro said there's no way you can shut the door on me when I'm on your inside in towards the second hairpin. McGuinness thought otherwise, and in the end the car was unsettled as a result of that little tap, but Ribeiro got his way through, and Matthias Moser just simply said, well, if the door's open, let me come on through as well. And well, McGuinness now trying to come back here, but there's been some great racing between this trio all the way through, and well, they're starting to get a bit firm with each other, pushing each other to the limit here as we ride on board with the man in the number 19. And well, Carl McGuinness right now, can he find a way to get back at his rivals? Well, he's going to need a good run out here. I don't think he's going to get enough, and on the exit, 3.5 tenths between himself and Moser. We'll close in little by little, but remember, Matthias Moser has the distant toe of Ribeiro, so it will be all neutralised here in terms of what drivers gain in the slipstream. So nobody will gain, nobody will lose, and Philip Hammer is right on the back of this right now with 2.5 laps to go. Can Hammer find his way through? Well, that is going to be a challenge, no doubt about it. But as we say hello there to Skennigan in the YouTube chat, I think that's how I do say your username. I apologise if not, good sir, who's cheering on none other than Max Enstrom. Well, all the drivers come underneath our gantry camera there, and we'll Hammer just waiting for the right time to pounce at this moment. He's close, but not close enough to think about a move. Further back, we do have a three-way battle for 19th place. This is Pit Venanzi versus Nathan Foster and Dan Bishop. Three drivers have had very different stories. Bishop's race has really been a difficult one. Foster's one has been a bit of a positive race, and Venanzi has had a solid race as well. That's a move there, being made by Nathan Foster, looking around the outside Venanzi, but can he get to the inside now to the second hairpin? The answer is no. Bishop, meanwhile, going for the cut back there through turn number 9, but too far back and too deep to cut it, and therefore will stay exactly where he is. But these three all eyeing each other up, enjoying a great little ding-dong battle. And the three lowest rated drivers in this lobby as well, because of their door numbers, well, they're enjoying fighting over what will be places which they'll feel as though they've earned the right to be in. And the fight for 19th place right now between these three, definitely just as important as the battle for the win as far as they're concerned. Albeit going defensive there is Venanzi onto the apex of 1. Foster squirming left, squirming right. He thinks he's got an opportunity to go for a move. We look back for the rear of our 19th place runner, and Venanzi right now just trying to keep his rival at bay. But you can see all this defensive driving's costing momentum. Foster's going to look round the outside here through the S's in towards turn 4. That's going to get very tight the apex. And how's it going to work out? Well, Foster in the end still there. Venanzi defends the inside. Bishop meanwhile trying to pick a way through. It's going to be 3 wide shortly now as they make the way down the back straight. Bishop's not there yet. 2 wide at the front of the camera angle. But Bishop's looking for a way in, but he's not going to quite find it. Venanzi covers him off. Foster goes to the middle road. Bishop says, okay, let me go all the way around the outside. Under brake and they go. Nathan Foster's in. Venanzi locks up a brake, and in the end goes a bit deep. Bishop tries to come back. Can he find it around the outside of turn number 6? I don't think he can. And Venanzi defends off Bishop, but Foster gets through. And in good time too, because we now come back to the front of the field. We're on to the last lap. And right now, Hayden Omamasi is running away. We're proceeding 6.5 seconds clear from second place man Adam Kotarski, who was under pressure from Tobias Olsen earlier on, but it looks like Kotarski has put that pressure to bed, and now the only thing between him and second place is a mistake or two over the remainder of the lap. Not that it should come true, but roaring his way out of turn number 4. It's a lovely run then. In fact, he gains a whole 10th on the exit of turn 4. That's the best exit of turn 4 he's had all race, it would seem, and Tobias Olsen just watching on a distance right now as this top 3 has definitely calmed down. Further back, you can see there Corey Lazarus running in 4th place, with Felix Werther still with him, albeit 9 tenths is the gap at the moment. I think these two may have ended up in a bit of a stalemate, and Corey Lazarus getting the job done nice and early on. But I have to wait and see what happens between them and Philip Hammer. Well, he has got ahead of Carl McGuinness. He did it at the end of lap 16. Can he find a way past Matthias Moser here down to the braking zone for the hairpin? No, he can't, but he is still trying to find a way through right at the end of this race. But speaking of the race enders, Hammer's going to go round the outside there into turn number 6. Well, there's going to be a bit of a tap between them. Turns him sideways, but we've got got to cut away from that because Heidi Massey, meanwhile, it's been a phenomenal drive, a fantastic pole position, and he converts pole into victory. Take a bow, Mr. Massey, because that is a phenomenal result. Well done to him. And then a further 7 seconds back, Adam Kotarski takes the runner-up spot there in the number 8 ahead of the number 9 Tobias Olsen, who rounds off your podium. And then it will be Corey Lazarus and Felix Werter round off your top 5 ahead of Marcelo Ganov, with Vicente Aparicio in 7th in the end ahead of Martin Gazinski. And then it'll be Martinez Sternhorn, who gained 13 places. Well done to him, finishing 9th ahead of Christian Manzano, who rounds off your top 10. Pedro Ribeiro finishes 11th, and then we will have Matthias Moser finishing in 12th ahead of Carl McGuinness, Philip Hammer and Christian Carlson. And well, that was your top 15, with Max Enstrom 16th in the end, locking up all the brakes as he brings it to a halt. And I think he just wants to get out the car, completely understandable. We've still got a few more drivers to finish their race. Let's not forget about them, including Ivan Pujachev ahead of Nathan Foster as he comes on through there to take 19th place in his brilliant freeway battle with Pete Venanzi and Dan Bishop. And then we will see Enzo Adedeva finish in 22nd. And a bit further back, we didn't really talk about him today, but let's get him a little bit of camera time. There is Bell Wells, the American driver, who will finish last of our runners, 23rd, finishing on the lead lap. Our other two drivers of Tito Deborah Bandera and also Bernardo Faria, both retirees from this race and not reaching that checkered flag. But as Evo drives Toad to the pits, alternatively go for a cool-down lap out there. I'm amazed they've got the fuel to do a cool-down lap, but perhaps they enjoy having a little bit more fuel to do the cool-down lap and also just to help balance the car out. Well, fantastic race, but we need to get you some results of it, ladies and gentlemen. And without further ado, let's look to the scenic view and give you those provisional results. And after a very fast, rapid-fire 17 laps of racing for week number 5's top split broadcast of the 2025 Season 3 campaign in the iRacing Porsche Cup by Conspit, Heidi Massey was the one to beat, and nobody could beat him today. Absolutely flawless to take victory, the number 1 driver. But behind the Briton was the Polishman of Adam Kotarski, and then Tobias Olsen for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Max Sim Racing. That was your top 3. Kotarski was under early pressure from Olsen, but in the end, Olsen threw everything at it, but it wasn't quite enough, and that is how they settled the distance. Corey Lazarus was 4th, the privateer there, doing a fantastic job in keeping ahead of Felix Werter. On a different day, he may have been able to make the move happen, but the pole promotion esports driver could not quite find a way through. Outside the top 5, it was then the Brazilian of Marcelo Ganov in 6th, ahead of the Spaniard of Vicente Aparicio. Aparicio having that battle with Martin Gazinski that ends up with a bit of contact between the two of them at the hairpin, so Aparicio finishing 7th and Martin Gazinski in 8th, but I'm sure they might have a few words about that one afterwards in terms of differences of opinion. But still, from the GTL VRT driver, it was then Martinez Stenzorn who finished in 9th ahead of Christian Manzano, and that was your top 10. Pedro Ribeiro took 11th place there, best of the rest, in a bit of a frustrating race for the Portuguese driver. Made a lot of progress early on, only for it then to be sent all the way to the back of the field and found his way back to 11th when all was said and done. Matthias Moser was in 12th ahead of Carl McGuinness, and then we saw Philip Hammer after the open lap disaster. We made his way to 14th, but not the way he wanted the day to go. In 15th, Christian Carlson, round off the top 15 there, was a Norwegian driver ahead of the Swede of Max Enstrom, and the Ice Cold Racing powered by Max Sim Racing driver having another difficult day today in very different circumstances in the number 16, but he continues the trend of finishing where his door number would have him, and he does indeed seem to be making a habit of that. Sergio Poulet was 17th ahead of Ivan Pujachev, and then from the Antarctican driver, it was Nathan Foster in 19th for Simam Racing ahead of Pete Venanzi, and what a brilliant battle between those two. And of course, add into the picture your 21st place finisher of Dan Bishop as well, who enjoyed that great scrap between them. Then in 22nd, it was Enzo Edevera, and we had Bell Wells round off your lead lap finishers in 23rd. We had 2 retirements in the race. Tito de Brandera, he retired with only the best part of 11 laps to go, and Bernardo Faria with that impact to the wall on the open lap at the hairpin. Well, in the end, the highly decorated Brazilian driver not seeing more than 1 lap. A bit of a disastrous day for him, but still, I'm sure he'll bounce back. So 25 starters, 23 finishers, and what a race, ladies and gentlemen. But as quick as it starts, it quickly finishes, and the circuit falls silent here at Okayama International. But with that, we must consider now what lies ahead. But before we do look ahead to week number 6, where we talk about this series being title sponsored by Conspit, but who exactly are Conspit and what are they all about? Let's find out. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider Conspit? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, Conspit offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, Conspit's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 AM Cup champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in Conspit's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. So that was a word about our title sponsor, Conspit, and a huge thank you to them for being the title sponsor of the iRacing Porsche Cup Open Setup Series. But we look ahead now to week number 6, ladies and gents, when we must leave Japan behind and we head not too far away to Australia for the challenge of who will be the king of the mountain, because in week 6 of 12, it will be Mount Panorama's motor racing circuit that plays host, but we all know and love it and refer to it as Bathurst. Who will there be the king of the mountain? Well, you'll have to tune in for next week's Top Split broadcast. How we should remind you that once again, we will not be using our regular Wednesday session for the Week 6 Top Split broadcast. We will instead be hosting it on Saturday, the 26th of July, 2025. However, it will be at our regular split time, and that will be at 19:45 GMT. That's Greenwich Mean Time, or UTC, Universal Coordinated Time. So just a reminder there, 19:45, Saturday, the 26th of July, 2025. We take to the mountain, and we'll see who come down it, the king. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, we've been the iRacing Porsche Cup by Conspit. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, also known as TX11 or Britain a Spit. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and much like our drivers, ladies and gentlemen, as always, remember to stay on track. Good night.